you have for us now?
There you go.
Where we began, it all comes down to Pennsylvania. That goes for Trump will settle the contest. It'd be mathematically impossible for her to win.
So as you looked at tonight, what did you see as it unfolded?
As it unfolded, a little bit of change. Earlier in the evening, it looked like he was doing slightly better.
Election night, baby, election night.
And some
Vamos ver aí.
like in Georgia, as well. But tonight in Pennsylvania, for example, he's doing better in all four of the
Vamos ver se o Trump
southeastern.
vai levar essa aí, galera, ó.
He's doing better in the rural parts of the state.
Eleição nos Estados Unidos, o bicho tá pegando. Esse número aqui tem que chegar a 270. Chegar em 270 aqui, quem chegar em 270 primeiro ganha. Quem chegar em 270 aqui é o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos. Sejam bem-vindos. Boa noite, meu povo. Estamos seguindo pela madrugada aí, meu povo.
He's also seeing a down arrow there, about 3 points. He's running down below his 2020 levels.
And so there's still hope for the blue wall for the Harris campaign over here.
That there's still hope. Obviously, I didn't love to see the go take a nap.
Ele foi chegando aí, pessoal, dá um oi pra gente aí.
But we do have to keep in mind that
Estamos ao vivo aqui,
2020 wasn't called
assistindo a Fox News,
Pennsylvania on Friday.
eleição presidencial dos Estados Unidos.
It was. So we'll see. I think it's close that there's vote coming in.
Valeu, obrigado pelo joinha aí.
Conversation over how much of the remaining vote in Philadelphia exists, and there was an extra 120,000-ish votes that were out there that could go into Harris's column.
Boa noite, na roça é assim. Boa noite, seja bem-vindo. Tá quase, pessoal, tá quase chegando pro Donald Trump ser presidente de novo dos Estados Unidos. Quando atingir 270 delegados aqui, quem atingir 270 primeiro será o próximo presidente. Donald Trump tá faltando somente 38. Pode ser decidido essa noite. Daqui a pouquinho pode ser decidido. Não, não, se Deus quiser, a Lula não vai ganhar aqui não. A Dilma não vai ganhar aqui não, fica tranquilo. Fé em Deus, o homem vai voltar de novo para consertar o país. Estava indo pro buraco. É, desse jeito. As palestras dela eram mais ou menos estilo a Dilma, essa sujeita aqui, ó. A palestra dela é a mesma coisa da Dilma. Fala nada com nada. Estamos quase, meu povo, estamos quase. Daqui a pouquinho sai o resultado de quem será o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos. Se alguém tiver alguma pergunta aí, pessoal, eu moro aqui na Flórida, nos Estados Unidos, a 30 minutos de Orlando, 30 minutos da Disney. Sejam todos bem-vindos aí que estiver assistindo aqui comigo. Obrigado pela presença aí de todos. Se alguém tiver alguma pergunta aí, pode perguntar aí, estou à disposição para responder vocês, beleza? Estão assistindo ao vivo aqui a Fox News.
When their sitting incumbent had as low a job approval as this president had. Take a look at the right direction, wrong track. I mean, 2/3 of the American people say the country's going in the wrong direction. And she represents the party in power. To me, it's, it's amazing that she's come as close as she has, given the party, the administration. Yeah, she was the vice president in a very unpopular administration, and yet tonight, again, you've got, Brett made the point earlier,
Deus abençoe todos vocês por aí. Que as coisas estão cada vez pior. Não, mas Deus abençoar que se o Trump ganhar aqui, em 2026 a coisa pode mudar aí de novo também. Porque ninguém aguenta não. Ninguém aguenta esse povo não. Eles destrói o país.
Harold Ford, are there going to be Biden people that say he could have been better?
Like, I think it's hard to make that case for some of the reasons that I think Britta and Carl have made the point. I think three things. I listen to Sandra's data. I'm curious as we get a day or so away from this.
Sejam bem-vindos aí, pessoal da madrugada aí.
Performance amongst women.
Se alguém tiver alguma pergunta aí, fica à vontade para perguntar o que quiser. Esse amor aí custa caro, meu amigo. Essa picanha com essa cervejinha. Oh, coisa cara, viu? Você tá doido?
And interestingly, Carl, normally we see a race where, in the country, where the cultural issues impact, as you were talking about, the suburban areas in some places he wasn't performing, and you see the suburban areas in Pennsylvania and elsewhere where the economic issues, fracking, and the livelihoods of those communities were extended. Then you have the cultural issues. I think the issue, the issue around transgender rights was a bigger issue than Democrats really understand what it meant, and what it meant for girls playing sports. I'm a father of a son and a daughter.
Na roça é assim, você é de onde no Brasil? Fala pra mim, qual a sua localidade? Cidade e estado.
So there'll be a lot of reckoning, and to Jessica's point, and I think a lot of reimagining who we are as a party, which I think will be good for the party if indeed the trend continues where it is this evening.
I'm not going to belabor this point, but for a candidate who Democrats who really were aggressive and a media that echoed that called him racist and a Nazi, and yet today to see the black vote and the Hispanic vote going exponentially more than it did before is really quite something. I mean, it's just startling, Rick.
Well, that's a further sign of the decline of the influence of the mainstream media, which tends to take its cues, to say the very least, from the Democrats, and to repeat with serious faces the charges he made and the sometimes outlandish claims that he's made about Donald Trump.
Sejam bem-vindos, pessoal. Estamos assistindo ao vivo a Fox News aqui. As eleições dos Estados Unidos, estamos quase sabendo aqui quem será o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos. Quem atingir o número 270 aqui primeiro será o próximo presidente. A Harris tem 216 e o Trump tem 232. Quem atingiu 270 primeiro será o próximo presidente.
This is 2016. This is Trump's margin in Philadelphia, 15 and a half, okay? He comes back 4 years later, Philadelphia, that's where I mean, it's a Republican running in a blue part of the state. He's just shy of 18. Okay, so where is he tonight? He's only 21, okay? So hold on that moment here, okay? There's a reason for this. Wow, that was a nice move. Yeah, I like that. You caught me off guard. So let's go ahead and look at the vote difference for Pennsylvania. Some things I want to show you right now. Now, we talked about this Democratic march over here, and really, when we talk about the blue wall, here's where we stand right now, okay? Gotta reach higher than that. Trump's just shy of 3 percentage points. Now, take it down to 2.7. That's a live number that continues to come in. Go ahead and clear this. Kevin, widen out there a minute. Let's look at the vote margin for Pennsylvania. I'm going to show you the blue wall and how, if it's moved every direction for the past 3 decades, is it about to move in the same direction yet again? Right? There's 3 counties here
assistindo ao vivo, pessoal.
that really tell a story.
Ao vivo, as eleições americanas. Perguntou se eu votei sim. Voto aqui na Flórida. Como pode votar antes, eu votei há 2 dias atrás. Foi no sábado, né? Foi 2 dias, não, sábado passado agora. Hoje é terça. 4 dias atrás. Votei para não deixar para votar no dia que tem fila, uma fila muito grande no dia, né?
always been the exception. It's been blue. That's where Penn State University is located, et cetera. That is another indication
O
about
Trump
how
já, aqui na Flórida já deu ele aqui.
Pennsylvania thus far tonight.
Flórida já deu Trump já.
All those and maybe more shortly. So when I show you that, we'll go ahead and clear it and give it back to you guys. Okay?
Well, it's really interesting. We've got some action because we're hearing the former president is going to his party in West Palm, but we're also seeing Cedric Richmond in Harris Walz's campaign co-chair speaking at the Harris Watch Party. Let's listen.
Votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted.
Ah, beleza, ó. Na roça é assim. É da Paraíba, ele mora em São Paulo, capital. Beleza. Eu sou mineiro e moro aqui nos Estados Unidos há muitos anos já. Mas eu trabalhei também aí no interior de São Paulo, em Sertãozinho. Eu trabalhei aí com 4 anos aí. Empresa de cana-de-açúcar.
Cedric Richmond, the campaign co-chair, and it's hard to ignore the fact that this is the mirror image of 2016 when John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chair, came out around the same time of night and said, you know, we're still counting votes and you won't hear from her tonight, you'll hear from her tomorrow.
Which is stunning. Go.HU, by the way, is Howard University. That's where the campaign headquarters party is. But the vote is still going. They're not stopping. The counting is.
Sejam todos bem-vindos. Joinha na live aí, pessoal. Dá um joinha pra gente aí. Senta o dedo de joinha pra gente aí.
So, you know, as you start getting to a decision here, and we could be getting close to a decision, we'll see where we are in Georgia. There have been other calls for Georgia. We are now at Michigan. Bill Hemmer, seeing some movement.
Yeah, up over 6 points, 6.3 now. The margin's getting larger for Trump here. Raw vote count is 210,000. So if you start doing some math and you think of like what's outstanding in Detroit, Wayne County, which is a lot, it's a sizable amount of votes out there. But whether or not there's enough votes in Wayne, once they announce and release, whether or not it's enough to overcome his lead.
What about Kent County? He has closed 3 campaigns in Grand Rapids, and he just closed this one there last night.
Yeah, Kent County has been stubborn for Donald Trump. I think he would probably confess that. This was a flipper from 2020 when Joe Biden took it from the Trump team. Right now in Kent County, she's got a pretty comfortable lead here, about 10 points.
Joinha na live, pessoal. Joinha na live. Vamos que vamos.
And we talked about 5 hours ago about the realignment of America in the South, primarily like in North Carolina and Georgia, perhaps parts of Florida. You don't think about a realignment in Michigan necessarily, but this has been an area that Donald Trump wanted to win. There's a reason why he started his tradition in 2016 by concluding his campaign in Kent County, Grand Rapids. He did it again in 2020 in a losing effort. He did it again just this past weekend, Monday night.
Estamos aguardando o resultado, pessoal, das eleições americanas. Quem vai ganhar a eleição? Kamala Harris ou Donald Trump? Estamos aguardando aí ao vivo o resultado.
Right, because it was, when's it back? Okay, you follow me on the calendar? Yeah, okay. But it's been stubborn. It appears that it will stick that way as well. Kent County and Grand Rapids will stay in the blue column. It's a changing area, you know, this west coast of Michigan. But what I'm seeing right now, even though you have just about 60% of the vote in.
Sejam bem-vindos, pessoal. Joinha na live aí. Dá joinha pra gente aí na live. Vamos que vamos. Daqui a pouquinho vai ser anunciado o novo presidente dos Estados Unidos, ou a nova presidente, né? A coisa tá bonita, viu? Estamos ao vivo assistindo Fox News. Pelo jeito vai dar Trump, hein? Pelo jeito vai dar Trump. 90% que é Trump agora. Já tá 90% que é o Trump. O bicho tá pegando.
some vote out there, but you see this margin here, yet again, just as I'm talking here, guys, it's ticking higher. 210,967, 6.3 percentage point lead. And Michigan.
Sejam bem-vindos à nossa live.
I'm not going to say it because it's not my job, but it looks like the blue wall could stay intact.
Vamos que vamos. Daqui a pouquinho, fica ligado aí, daqui a pouquinho vai falar quem é o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos. Ao vivo para vocês, ao vivo.
Fox News can now project
Quem que é o próximo?
that the state of Georgia will go to former President Donald Trump.
Georgia foi para Trump.
Thought battle.
O estado da Georgia foi para Trump.
Loses it last time to President Biden by 11,779 votes.
O estado da Georgia deu Trump.
And this is a big win. He went there, campaigned there, and so did Vice President Harris. Numerous times
Ótimo,
thinking
ótimo.
that Georgia could stay in the Democratic column.
You know, he had
Agora,
a difficult
tá
relationship with
chegando.
Governor Brian Kemp, if you remember.
E quando chegar esse número aqui, 270, já era. Aí já é. Já é o presidente.
That didn't go well either. So this is a very big win for former President Trump to, you know, have this redemption in Georgia
So
tonight.
now we are at electoral college vote and 248 for Trump and 216 for Harris. We have a panel welcoming in Karen Shaw,
I'm live.
Fox News Decision Desk, welcoming Juan Williams as well, along with Carl Rove. Darren, I got you out here. We're going to
Tá
say
quase, tá quase.
calling Georgia and then we push the button.
Are you here to tell us that we were right when we said you called Georgia?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I thought you were going to come down here to grill me, and you preempted that.
What else are we gonna call?
You got to call Georgia the nigga town for you, Darren.
Exactly right. While we have you, how do you see this night? And was it like you thought going in? And as you look at the blue wall there?
Well, I think
Vamos que vamos. 248. Só falta 22 para chegar nos 270.
more data I saw,
Só falta
more
22.
possibilities seem to unfold.
Vamos que vamos.
Weeks ago, I didn't think could happen. I didn't think Trump could win.
Estamos ao vivo, pessoal, ao vivo. Daqui a pouco vai falar quem será o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos.
Capped at 47 to 48%.
Já tá, a chance está bem grande para o Donald Trump.
Conversations about whether these, swing states were going to move together or whether they were going to sort of crack and each move separately. There's
O
possibilities.
cara já veio no crowd da Harris, o responsável, e falou que amanhã que ela vai falar que hoje está muito tarde, não sei o que amanhã vai falar. Já, ó, vazaram. Já vazaram. Na hora que ele falou, só viu o resto do. Tipo assim, 30% já tinha vazado. Os outros 70%, na hora que ele falou, fez assim.
You know, all these toss-up states
Sumiu de lá. Isso aí você já sabe, né?
Is there any
Ao do Trump, como é que tá? Todo mundo lá.
say this could be a win in a larger percentage than that? I mean, a lot of these states are still close.
Não, Pensilvânia ainda não.
Looking at right now, we have sort of model data, and we're looking to reach
Já era.
certain level of statistical significance to make a call.
Sejam bem-vindos, pessoal, ao vivo.
And so, for instance,
Eleições 2024 nos Estados Unidos.
5,000 outstanding votes. A lion's share of them were coming from suburban Atlanta. She needed to hit about 55, 56%. She was getting about 45%. And at a certain level,
É na roça, é isso mesmo. Os senadores já são a maioria já, do lado do Trump, dos republicanos.
been performing.
Já passaram dos 51 já.
We're not quite there yet.
50 é metade, né? 51 já é a maioria.
This may not be an election where we need to be here.
Provavelmente vai ter como uns 54, mais ou menos,
Go home, relax.
a 46.
Maybe not yet.
We'll see if they.
Previsões é isso aí.
Arizona and Nevada have been particularly stubborn about that. We understand in Nevada they don't allow any counting until the last vote has been cast. Which is
Trump tá
nothing
fazendo
more than
história hoje.
Nothing from Nevada so far. But Arizona, it's coming in sort of droves. It's a close race there. Wisconsin and Michigan. Michigan seems to be counting there like 54, 55%. Wisconsin at 2 a.m. in 2020 had counted 99% of the votes. So we think there's a chance we might have enough data in Wisconsin, maybe Michigan. So we may have some resolution more quickly than we had thought.
So in Pennsylvania, Sean talked about this earlier, the early vote and what that looked like and what she would have to do day of in Philadelphia and those counties right around there. Is it possible that that's still out there and it's possible to do?
Well, it seems to be a probability diminishing by the hour. I think this is something from the Georgia data, but we also
Sejam bem-vindos nas eleições 2024 dos Estados Unidos. Estamos assistindo os resultados ao vivo. Está muito próximo do Donald Trump ser o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos. Quando esse número aqui atingir 270, já não tem mais volta. Atingiu 270 aqui, já é o próximo presidente. Está 248. Faltam 22 delegados. Se ele conseguir esses 22 nos próximos estados, já era.
Michelle Obama said, don't let your husband or boyfriend's rage dictate your vote. President Obama talked about bringing up brothers and scolding them. That does not seem to have been a strategy that worked.
Darren, did the Fox News voter analysis track with what you saw with raw vote as you went around the states?
Yes.
Se tiver alguma pergunta aí, pessoal, pode ficar à vontade para perguntar o que quiser aí, viu? O nosso chat aí pode perguntar o que quiser. Eu moro aqui a 30 minutos da Disney, na Flórida.
We might be overestimating Trump's performance in rural areas, but the more data we got, the more that didn't seem to be the case. It seemed like he was basically hitting what we thought he would hit.
We've got the brain here. Did anybody else have a question for Darren?
I'm curious about immigration and what you've seen in terms of how much that played into the votes in some of these states.
Well, I think the one thing we can say is that it didn't repel people. In particular,
Olha, os deputados ainda não sei não. Na roça assim, nos deputados ainda não tem confirmação. Os senadores sim, os deputados ainda não.
40% of Trump's performance amongst Latinos, that ended up being, I think, within 13 or 14 points of Harris's. If you showed me data before the election and said, that he's going to get 15% of the African American vote, 40% of the Hispanic vote, I'd say that's an awfully tough night for a Democrat to win an election in.
There's some reporting that Trump has won Erie County, Pennsylvania. Is that square with anything you understand?
I think it was on sort of a knife's edge. I don't know if Phil's got the latest data, but
It was a vote here.
Part of her hope, right?
Went back to the Trump team, and right now, currently, just to keep you guys up to date, he leads it by a point in 1.4, which is a little less than 2,000 raw votes.
And it's 99% out.
Yeah. 99% in or 90? What?
90%, statewide 90%. Darren, I got a question for you. When you think about the blue wall in the upper Midwest, when we were at the convention in Milwaukee in July, it ended on a
Sejam
Thursday.
bem-vindos
On a Friday, we had that national computer glitch.
às eleições 2024 dos Estados Unidos. Aqui estão os resultados, já está quase saindo o resultado final, pessoal. A gente saber quem será o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos.
Why did I just see Kid Rock? And why did I see Hulk Hogan? And why did I see Dana White? And I went to the campaign, I said, what's going on there? Because it was
Na roça é assim, com Jorge Dantas. Você que é o Jorge Dantas? Seja bem-vindo.
Ohio to a lesser degree in Pennsylvania. That's what they were thinking about. And they said, we noticed that there was a certain percentage of white men who voted in 2016. They sat out 2020, and we're trying to win them back. Is there evidence that those white males in those upper Midwest states did that tonight?
There was sort of a rule of thumb we were adopting that, and we spoke about this a little bit earlier in conversation with you all, but that, the gender gap is a double-edged sword. Gender gap can help or hurt depending upon, the absolute level of support. We were looking at 55%.
Estamos quase, pessoal, estamos quase chegando a saber o resultado final das eleições dos Estados Unidos.
55% with women. That was a good sign.
Entre Donald Trump e Kamala Harris.
Closer to that sort of magic number than she was. So what they call it the bro strategy or whatever, it seems to have paid some dividends up there. We're still waiting, but it's looking pretty good for him.
So we can definitively say that the poll that we don't talk about in Iowa was kind of off. The ballot registry.
I love Ann Seltzer. She's a giant, a pioneer in our field. I think what we were looking at, ironically, was not so much the top line in that race, but what Seltzer had said was that senior women were breaking away from Trump over the abortion issue. And I think our friend Sean Trende had a really good observation where he said that may be true, but it may not help Harris, because that's something that could occur in Iowa where abortion was a hot issue, but might not occur nationally in other states where abortion
Eleições
was.
2024, pessoal.
Really quickly, what's happening in
Está
Minnesota?
quase saindo o resultado
Minnesota, why is that still?
das eleições 2024 aqui nos Estados Unidos. Quem será o próximo presidente?
We're at a level where we're close to statistical significance, but it's not quite there yet, and there are still.
Tim Walz in charge of that?
Yeah, well, there you go. Rumor has it.
We have to let you go because you have some more data crunching to do. We appreciate you coming
Thank you,
by.
Darren.
Thanks, Darren.
Good job,
A lot.
For coming
Good job.
by.
Great to see you guys. Thank you.
Let's
Opa. Travou? Libera aí, libera aí. Bora, bora. Quem chegar nos 270 aqui, pessoal, ó. Aqui, ó. Harris, 216. Opa, deu pau. Bicho pegando. Tá pegando.
Every minute, and people here anxiously await to see if the former president shows up here tonight and perhaps gives a victory speech. Back to you.
Oh, yeah. Victory speech.
Thank you very much. Head back there. If the former President Trump is about to take the stand and speak there, so we're going to keep a close eye on that. 1 a.m. in New York. Polls have just closed in Alaska. The Fox News Decision Desk says it is too early to call. Trump has a lead in our Fox News voter analysis, so we will get you back to Alaska when we have a little more data to report there.
And there you see 248 to 216, the Electoral College map. We are waiting on the blue wall, which could be a red wall. You just heard from Darren Shaw, and I think that data and the way he laid it out there and their decision making really kind of lifts the curtain to how these guys operate. Based on our Fox News voter analysis, which again was 120,000 voters, that a rolling poll, and then the raw vote total that they came in. Alex Hoff is in Pennsylvania. We'll check in on
Tá quase chegando o resultado final, pessoal. Quem será o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos?
Hey, good to be with you. Yeah, the crowd here in Bucks County, they are excited by some trends they are seeing, not necessarily expecting the result tonight. Pennsylvania's results, and the count is historically slow. It took 4 days in 2020, but the Commonwealth Secretary does believe that it's going to be faster this time. New technology, more training will come into all this. Now, looking at Philadelphia, both the Trump and the Harris campaigns, they're saying they're outperforming there, but Team Trump feels that this could be good news for them because there are pockets of support inside of South Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia, and there is a saying that goes that Republicans can gauge how well they are doing in the state by how much they are losing Philadelphia by. Simply, it cuts into the margins that Democrats need. And here in Bucks County, they're seeing themselves on the screen right now. It means a lot. If he were to win this county, Bucks County, I mean, that would be the first time a Republican presidential candidate has taken this county since 1988. And these suburbs of Philadelphia, this is what pushed Biden over the edge in 2020. Harris needs to do well in these counties if she stands to have a chance of taking the state, guys. Right, Martha?
Alex, thanks.
You. So let's go to Bill and see what are you cooking up over there, Bill?
You know, I was just
Who's winning? The Trump's winning. Trump tá ganhando. Trump tá na frente.
And, you know, Trump, you know, New York's his home, right? I mean, now living in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, but just look at this. I'm going to go ahead and use the slide bar and just, okay, 8 years ago.
Yes, Trump is winning, yes.
Margin in New York, all right? 37.5 compared
Right
to
here.
almost 59 for Hillary Clinton.
Right here, it's in the front.
Biden, it was
248 to 216.
Oh my gosh, that was
He needs another 22 votes right here.
and
22 delegates to be 270, and then he's gonna be the next president of the United
pretty
States.
decent performance. And we just get some insight from New York City. He did well over of the vote here in New York as well. One thing I was checking out here, guys, this is the number, right? Path to 270? I guess.
Na roça é assim, aqui na realidade não importa, não é os votos, às vezes a pessoa, dependendo, pode até ter menos votos na quantidade total e ainda pode ser o presidente. O que vale são os estados que dão os delegados que eles falam, né? Conta cada estado tem uma quantidade de delegado, e é eles que vão aumentando aqui, ó. Não é a quantidade de voto geral, não. Esses números aqui é que são mais importantes, ó. Quem chegar em 270 aqui primeiro é o que é o vencedor.
Estimated somewhere, maybe 40% of the vote still missing there in Michigan and Wisconsin. You know, maybe we get some more numbers in. They got 85% of the vote in here. And, you know, Trump's holding on to his 4.2 advantage in Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, they take a lot of pride in what they do. They want to get the vote out quickly. Maybe Milwaukee notwithstanding, but the rest of the state, you know, that's their idea. So we could get that in. Maybe a little more as we go into what, the 2 a.m. hour? Are we going to 2 a.m. or 3? What are we doing here? Arizona sticking here at 0.7. What's that? Just keep going. Okay, you got it. This is Nevada, so we're starting to get our first numbers in from Nevada. For any of the nerds and geeks out there that are deep in the weeds about the early voting, you've been watching Nevada, and Nevada's been a pretty good marker there for Republicans.
Sejam bem-vindos, pessoal. Então, quase.
And Trump's got a firm lead at 3.4 points, roughly just a tad under 35,000 votes. Clark County, Las Vegas, 70% of the votes in the
Daqui a
silver state
pouquinho vai
here,
ter o
all
resultado,
come from
pessoal.
Nevada.
Daqui a
Let's see what's
pouquinho vai
happening
ter o
right now.
resultado.
Harris, just a tick over 50.2 with 80%. I want to go comparison's sake, 8 years ago, why not, right? In Nevada, I don't know what this number is. We'll find out together, okay? So Hillary Clinton did 2 points better than Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden, okay, did even better. You know, 3.5 over what Kamala Harris is putting up right now. So it appears if you're in the Trump camp, that's a pretty good number right now, just shy of 51% in Nevada early on. Here's Carl Rove's favorite place in the world. This is Washoe County, right, Carl? Right now, it's close, right? 0.2 points. You know, what happened with Biden? Was it close? Yeah, pretty close, but Biden won the county. So in all likelihood, Trump's got a chance to flip this if it holds up right now. Super slim and more vote to come in, but Nevada is looking good too. And now you start to wonder, you know, how high does this number go on the Electoral College? Yeah, New York Times.
Seja bem-vindo, pessoal. Se alguém tiver alguma dúvida aí, quiser perguntar alguma coisa, fica.
Is what they have. Well, let's check in. Let's go out to Vegas. Jeff Paul is live in Las Vegas. Jeff, what's happening?
Deixa eu ver aqui. São os votos dos delegados? Isso mesmo, os votos dos delegados. Os delegados são diferentes nos estudos, os números de delegados, né? Os delegados são assim, dependendo do estado que você ganha, vamos supor, cada estado tem uma quantidade de delegados. Vamos supor, se você ganhar a Flórida, são 16 delegados. Aí esses 16 números vão para você. Se você ganhar Nova York, a quantidade de delegados que tiver em Nova York vai para você, entendeu? Então vamos fazendo assim. Os estados que tem mais gente, a quantidade tem maior de delegados. Os estados que tem menos pessoas, tem menos quantidade de delegados, entendeu?
All right, Jeff Paul in Las Vegas. Jeff, thanks.
So our panel is still with us, and we have some new folks that are here as well. Kevin McCarthy is joining us. Carl Rove is back. Juan Williams is here. Great to have all of you with us. Kevin McCarthy, let me start with you. Give us an update on what your overall take on the night so far, and then maybe drill down on some of what you're seeing in these House situations as well.
The Senate Republicans did an extraordinary job. They surpassed all expectations. President Trump is on his way. And I think President Trump is going to help the Republicans hold the House, but it's going to be very narrow, maybe even narrower than we have.
But you think they can do it?
Even narrower than you have now, you said.
Yeah, it may be exactly the same or maybe smaller. Look at the two seats I said at the very beginning of the night. Watch Pennsylvania 7 and Pennsylvania 8. I think we're going to pick those both up. You said North Carolina 1. We're probably going to lose that by 1 point. You did an extraordinary job.
Wow.
Then you look at Maine. We're ahead there. But we have some incumbents that have fallen in New York. California's just in now, but don't read those numbers yet. Because it's just the first
Seja bem-vindo, meu povo.
We're going to have to wait some time to see.
Noite de eleição. Está quase saindo o resultado final das eleições nos Estados Unidos. Quase, quase.
The credit goes to President Trump, but it also fundamentally means something different. You can do reconciliation when it comes to tax reform. So you don't need 60 votes in the Senate. Having the Senate as large as he is, he's going to get the cabinet that he wants. The other thing that's going to happen is you're not going to have a Hakeem Jeffries that's going to try to impeach him every single week. So America's going to see ability to go. And if Republicans take this moment in time to not play games and focus on the issues, they can grow it the next time. Otherwise, it's going to be very competitive.
But Juan Williams, if it's as big as we think it could be, we obviously haven't made these calls yet, but it's trending that way, and the pathway for her to win is getting narrower and narrower. Isn't it not a mandate? And Hakeem Jeffries and the thought of impeaching with what we're seeing tonight, seems like...
Os resultados estão chegando, pessoal. Daqui a pouquinho já vai ter o resultado final de quem será o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos. Se alguém tiver alguma pergunta aí, fica à vontade para perguntar. Eu estou aqui à disposição para responder se eu souber.
I think that there's even recriminations now among Democrats as to Biden and whether Biden should have dropped out earlier or Biden should have stayed. Would a white male have done better? Obviously, Trump has defeated 2 women and now a black woman. So there's all of these questions. But to my mind, it seems to me incredible that a guy who led an insurrection against the United States government is going potentially now, like a thief going back into the Oval Office. It's unbelievable.
Well, you have to consider the fact, one, that a lot of people didn't think that was an insurrection. They thought it was a riot, but not an insurrection. And had they thought there was really was an insurrection, I don't think he could have won.
Well, I don't know.
Exaggerations about that day.
Well, I'm not exaggerating.
About the alleged threat to democracy is a piece of what happened tonight.
Well, I don't think so. I think, again, I'm giving you my perspective.
And I'm giving you mine.
Right, so I listened to you as my friend. But I'm going to tell you what I saw was not only a riot in terms of the violence, but a direct action intended to stop certification of a presidential election.
Understood. And we've talked a lot about it.
That's why I said that.
We've talked a lot about it. The campaign,
clearly. I'm not trying to hype anything.
The campaign ran a lot of ads about it, talked a lot about it, and more, half the country now, Juan is going to say, that is not what I care about. I care about my economy. I care about immigration.
That's where we differ. I'm not sold on this idea that, it was the cost of eggs. I worry that it was, I'm not voting for this woman. Or I'm not voting for this black woman.
I don't know. That's not what we see in our data.
Well, here's the thing. Where do you see that? Because a moment ago, Darren was out here and he said, in fact, not only did the bro strategy work, and the bro strategy largely worked along the lines of white men, but that the bro strategy also had some impact in terms of Latino and black men who came along and gave higher percentages.
All right, Carl, weigh in.
I just want to make one more point with one. I spoke to Jack Brewer this week, and here's what he said. If Trump wins, he said he won because black men felt that Democrats and elites put immigrants before us. Your thoughts on that?
I just think that that's possible. I don't know that for a fact. I think there are tensions between racial groups, and people might feel that. Obviously, you can exploit those tensions, and you can exacerbate them to the point where you can politically benefit from it. Do I think that's the reason he won? No. I think the reason he won is you look at that bro strategy and the white male turnout and white grievance politics that he has used to great success in this country.
I mean, Carl, I think he's trailing among trailing his prior 2020 numbers with whites.
Well, you know what, I think that the votes,
Hispanics and black males.
Yeah.
well, it's not sufficient to make up, it's not sufficient to have this kind of night.
Look, I just think it is extremely odd to suggest that black men are somehow prejudiced because they vote for a white candidate who says, I want to make certain that everybody has an opportunity to succeed in our great economy. I want you to be more prosperous, and I will do things that will make it possible for you to make a better life. That is an appeal to their best instincts. He did not go out and say, vote for me because I'm not a woman. Don't vote for me because I'm a white man. That would not have attracted those votes. They got attracted to him because they thought he was a strong, effective leader, and they thought he would do something about the issues they cared the most about, which is an economy in which they think they get the short stick, inflation, which has decimated their purchasing power,
Seja bem-vindo, pessoal.
which has affected their communities deeply.
Estamos vendo aqui o resultado das eleições, está quase saindo o resultado final das eleições dos Estados Unidos.
You're distorting my comments, but let me just say, Carl, hold on. We're not saying most black men did not vote for Donald Trump. So no, I never said anything like that. That's just not true.
You suggested it's only
I'm saying to you, no, I'm saying to you that in terms of this bro strategy for white males, the whole notion of I'm bad, I talk about women in the most disparaging way. There's some men who just say, you know what, I get into, I want to be in on that. I want to be a badass guy. And I think they like Trump's image and the character.
I think they supported him in spite of that, not because of it. He offered to make their life better.
Okay, I tend to agree with one about January 6th. I'm surprised by the fact that the country got over that as quickly as it seemingly did, which speaks to the political comeback. I said earlier, I think that the fact that some of these issues around the economy and the border were not addressed more forthrightly.
Estamos quase chegando no final, pessoal. Quando chegar em 270 aqui, acaba a eleição. Quem chegar em 270 primeiro será o presidente dos Estados Unidos. O Trump está mais próximo.
Did the gender gap with women, did black women, white women, Hispanic women, we still don't know those numbers. We'll have an opportunity to dig into some of those things, but I don't interpret what Juan is saying any more than that.
All right, more to talk about here.
There's a lot more coming up as election night moves on at 1:15 on the East Coast. We continue to get more vote in. We will be able to make
Joinha na live, pessoal. Dá um joinha pra gente aí.
Our coverage continues next. Stay
Thumbs
with us.
thumbs up, guys. Eleições 2024. 2024 elections. Election night.
Starting at 5 a.m., Lawrence, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian bring us all the latest after Election Day on a special Fox and Friends. Today.
This is our legacy. I won't let anyone take it.
The epic return of Yellowstone.
I can see it now. I know what to do.
There is no morality. This is war.
We fight here.
Com certeza hoje será um dia histórico, com certeza.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
It's been pretty fun so far.
Com certeza.
Yellowstone. Watch on Paramount Network this week.
Falar no homem tá fazendo história nesse país aqui, esse cara.
Believe this, man?
Everyone's getting that new Simply Safe outdoor monitor. Now they can help prevent crime before it even happens.
How do we compete with AI-powered outdoor cameras that alert
Estamos
live
chegando
agents
nos
of an intruder?
270, né, pô? Estamos chegando nos 270 para ser o campeão.
Whoa! I didn't even see
Quase
those
lá.
guys.
So what about us now?
Luckily, I'm pretty adorable. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents.
Quem
This
chegar em
iPad Pro
270
sold for less
primeiro
than $34. And this
vai
Nintendo
ser o
Switch sold for
vencedor.
less than $20. Go to DealDash.com
248
and
para
see
o
how
Trump,
much you can save.
216 para Harris.
I don't want to
Só
wait
falta
for
sair o
surgical
resultado de alguns
treatment.
alguns estados aí.
Surgical treatment.
And if
E já
not, surgical
teremos
treatment isn't offered.
I'll get a second
a resposta de quem será o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos.
FindAHandSpecialist.com to get started.
Vamos que vamos, meu povo.
I
Vamos
didn't
que
have to
vamos.
spend my life trying to find my calling. Mine found me at an early age. It was just a matter of how good I could get and how far I would go.
At Ram, our calling is to build trucks. So when you find your calling, nothing can stop you from answering it.
Right
Daqui a
now, during
pouquinho
Ram
vai
Power
ter o
Days, get
resultado, pessoal.
$4,000 cash allowance on the purchase of most 2025 Ram 1500 trucks. Don't miss Ram Power Days. Hurry in today.
Enjoy your risk-free trial.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I sure can. Everybody hear me? I sure can.
Do you hear me?
I sure can.
So, can you hear well?
Sure can.
Tá chegando, daqui a pouquinho chega o resultado. Quem será o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos, pessoal? Daqui a pouquinho, tá chegando o momento, tá chegando o momento. 240 delegados, 248 delegados para Trump, 216 para Harris.
That is the jubilant scene. Everybody seems pretty happy at Trump headquarters, and what we're seeing is movement from the Mar-a-Lago Trump group, including former President Trump, who is in a very good position to be the next president this evening, as well as heading over to the Trump headquarters, where there are a few thousand people who have gathered for this evening. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Obviously, when he shows up there, we will take you there live.
Well, those guys had two Make America Great hats on.
I saw someone with a really large one. Yeah.
As we look now at what we
Pennsylvania.
have, Pennsylvania. Is this a call, ladies and gentlemen?
Wow.
We are now projecting that Donald J. Trump will win the state of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
President Donald J. Trump will win the state of Pennsylvania.
Donald Trump.
He is on his way to becoming the 47th president.
Pensilvânia, só faltam 3 delegados agora.
With this, the path
Mais 3 delegados.
President Harris has narrowed.
Só falta 3.
And there's really no path going forward. It's vanished. This is historic. Everything was about Pennsylvania. Everything from the beginning was about Pennsylvania. Now, former President Trump will win the state of Pennsylvania, and we can make that call, the 19 electoral votes. That puts him at 267, not officially over the 270, but the path
Yes.
that it takes
Ganhou
to get to
Pennsylvania.
270, he is well on his
O cara tá fazendo, falando na live aí?
President of the United States. In
267.
the biggest political phoenix from the ashes story that we have ever seen, ever. I mean, I'm going to say it's more than Grover Cleveland in 1892.
Yeah, I don't think that Grover Cleveland was not the subject of a Russia investigation, 2 impeachments, 2 assassination attempts. They have indictments, 91 indictments, convictions, and there is almost nothing that hasn't
Dia histórico, hoje é dia histórico.
at this former president, and his tenacity in wanting to go back and run again, which he announced immediately.
Dia histórico hoje para os Estados Unidos.
2020. This is a huge historic moment in the United States of America.
Wow.
As the former President Trump is closing in with just a few electoral votes away now from clinching to
Tá
70,
fechando, tá
as
fechando.
Pennsylvania is called for Donald Trump.
We're looking live, 1:21 a.m. in the morning.
Só falta mais 3 delegados aqui para ele ser o presidente dos Estados Unidos. Só falta mais 3. Se chegar em 270 já era.
They are getting ready to hear
From former President Donald Trump, again at 267, not there yet.
Wow.
Looking at where that vote is in Wisconsin, where the vote is in Michigan, where the vote is in Nevada.
É, tá. Só falta o resultado de mais um estado e já era. Se ele ganhar mais um estado, já era. Se ele ganhar mais um estado, já era. Dia histórico, dia histórico.
No one could imagine after that failed race for governor, he could have come back in 1968 and been elected president. That was a hell of a comeback. This, to my eye, was a man that was facing many more slings and arrows than Nixon had at that time, hated though he was by the Democrats. This surmounts that. This is an extraordinary comeback.
Dan.
He campaigned so energetically, ruthlessly, fiercely, and with more joy than Kamala Harris. And it was so clear that Joe Biden was not going to be able to go the distance. If Joe Biden were still on the ticket tonight, who knows what tonight might have even looked like.
Qual o próximo que tá vindo?
He's been able to accomplish this. It is nothing short of astonishing and amazing. And also I think about Susie Wiles, who's his campaign manager, very quiet, does not like the limelight. Chris LaCivita, who works on it. All of those people who worked so hard and stuck by Trump, no matter what was said about him, they were called every name in the book, including Hitler and Nazis, and they came through. The other thing that's on my mind is, last night at her closing rally, Oprah Winfrey said that if Donald Trump is elected again, basically you can just write America off, like America's just going to fall apart. That's obviously not true, although I'll be surprised tomorrow if there's a big line at JFK of Hollywood celebrities leaving the country, as they said they were going to. This is the greatest country, and there will be so many opportunities for lots of deal making. I think President Trump will be in the mood, but he also has a huge to-do list. Biden and Harris have left a mess. His closing argument was, she broke it, I will fix it. And she talked about having a to-do list. He's got a big to-do list, but he thrives on it. And you saw that.
Só mais um aí.
I think
Só mais um estado.
doing the job of being President Carroll,
Só mais um
and
estado.
it is just an absolutely remarkable. I think if we read this as a movie script, people would say, never happened in the United States of America.
He's a single, I've said this before, he's a single greatest political athlete I've ever seen. And tonight he proved why. There were moments in the campaign where I thought he said some things and did some things that I didn't quite understand, that I thought maybe detracted from that. But tonight obviously proves that too. He also ran a traditional campaign. He connected with voters on issues. He talked about the things that mattered most to voters in the press. He didn't talk about it in the most full-throat
Fala
way.
as coisas how it
He
is.
didn't talk about it in the most wholesome way. Didn't talk about it in the most comprehensive way, but he connected with voters. I would urge my party tonight, if indeed I think he's almost at 270, we'll declare here shortly once Alaska comes in. Don't write off the American people. Let us not be critical of people for voting for President Trump. He did something we didn't do in this campaign. We had to reevaluate, reassess. Mr. Wonderful said it a little earlier, that may give us an opportunity as a party to revamp, and perhaps we should think about that. But don't write off the people, the American people, for the decision they made this evening.
Charlie Hurd, he will be the 47th president of the United States after everything that we saw in this election. It's hard to understand how some in the mainstream media are going to take this, because it was so over the top one way that they thought it was done. There was a landslide prediction from a lot of
estava assistindo na CNN live. Estava vendo o que eles estavam falando aqui, aquilo. Eu queria ver a cara deles agora. Coloca a CNN live aí.
And this is not just, a victory for the White House tonight, but also, this is the end of the old Republican Party, which of course Donald Trump took on. That was the first thing that he did. The very first thing that he did in 2015 was take on the old Republican Party. He has completely reshaped the Republican Party.
Meu povo, Donald Trump está a 3 delegados de ser o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos. E já é 99,9%, é 99% de certo já. 99% de garantia. Próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos. Joinha na live, mano. Joinha na live. Vamos que vamos. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Tá faltando 268 em algum lugar? Não, tá faltando algum ainda. Tem algum que ainda não foi called ainda. Não, mas ele não. Se colocar na CNN ainda tá 230 ainda. Eles estão atrasados.
His party lost in the midterm. His first, in 2018, they lost in 2018. They lost the presidential election in 2020, and they had a major disagreement in 2022.
Tá bom.
One might have thought after all that the party wouldn't turn turn to him again.
Tem problema não, chegar nos 70 aqui, pode ficar 3, 4 estados para contar, não tem problema não.
All the other troubles that he had, to have to come back from that is really quite frightening.
And think about how toxic he was after, say, January 6th.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at races now in states where Donald Trump very well may drag Republicans, and he's overperforming in a lot of places fellow Republicans.
You know, it really does. I think there are parallels to 1980, Mark Penn, when you look at
Vamos que
Jimmy
vamos, meu
Carter, we
povo.
have hostages
Thumbs
in
up,
Iran,
thumbs up.
we have
Joinha na
hostages
live.
in Gaza right now, very high inflation and a malaise in many ways.
Exatamente.
In a country that I think these people who have been called a lot of names have had enough of. What is your impression of what this means tonight?
Well, I think this means a lot.
Exatamente, Jorge Dantas.
I think the working class are
Estados Unidos voltará a ter um presidente, exatamente. E bom presidente, né? Bom presidente.
I think a lot of people over in the Middle East are looking for Iran to pull back in the face of a president whom they fear. And, you know, I think it's going to be
Colocar a casa em ordem agora.
to understand that the people have spoken and to dissemble and dismantle this lawfare that they system that they have built up, which is going to raise
O povo viu a covardia que estava fazendo com ele. Tentaram de tudo quanto é jeito. Tentaram colocar o homem na cadeia, deram multa nele de 370 milhões de dólares. Nunca existiu na face da Terra dar multa para um ser humano desse valor.
Imagine going there tomorrow night. Imagine a Ukraine deal that Donald Trump talks about. Kevin O'Leary, what is the market going to do?
I love this. What's happened here is the system self-corrected. When you try and break the American model, it fixes itself. And I think people
That's
should
good.
give credit within the Democratic Party. Donald Trump saved them tonight too, because they're going to have to take a spatula to these policies and bring it back to the center over the next 4 years, and in a way reset. And we talked about this earlier, but you saved entrepreneurship. You saved the entire model of the S&P 500, because taxing 20% higher was a really bad idea, and it self-corrected. Capital, and this is why I'm getting on a plane tomorrow night. I intentionally didn't leave till tomorrow night so I could go to Geneva, go to Abu Dhabi, go to Riyadh, and say it's 21% corporate taxes, 100% not going to change. That is very important for people like me that bring capital back to this country. It fixed itself. It fixed itself. And I think that's why America works. It has worked for 200 years. When it gets too crazy, it fixes itself.
Wow.
Whether you love Trump or you hate him, every Democrat owes him a thank you very much, Mr. President.
By the way, that's the markets, the bond market, and all these election markets we're moving. Bitcoin went up exponentially.
Ai, que maravilha.
So you're buying later.
You know, speaking of Bitcoin, I'm also struck by just calling Pennsylvania here, Dana. Trump embraced Elon Musk in an enormous way. A lot of people, a lot of stories were written that said that he was going to blow it in Pennsylvania, that the people who were working on his outreach teams didn't know what they were doing. He's going to...
And he got a lot of criticism. Remember, the $1 million giveaway for registered voters. But of course, Selena Zito, who's somebody that we follow and we've had on the show many times, and she knows that area very well. She said the people of that region love somebody who is a big thinker, who wants to create jobs, who is like looking into the future, and they can get behind that.
Tá chegando,
and they
pô,
love
tá
somebody
chegando.
who can really lead.
Será o próximo presidente dos Estados Unidos? Quem será? Quem será?
Willing to make decisions where you are going to be criticized.
O
I think this is
resultado
one
tá
of the
chegando
problems
aí.
that Kamala Harris has always had. She doesn't want to take a position on anything. We haven't even talked about how in California, the law to basically make shoplifting illegal again passed overwhelmingly, and Gascon, our friend down the DA in Los Angeles, lost by 22 votes. I mean, this is in California, so it was everywhere. And 2 days before, 22 points, thank you. She wouldn't even take a position on that 75% of the people in California wanted it gone, and you can't take a position to be with them?
Not only that, you were part of Prop 47,
Yes.
which changed the law the other way.
Right.
When you were in office.
So not wanting to take a position and not being willing to be criticized is a problem if you want to be a leader at that level.
She had that affliction in 2020. Why didn't your own party say, you're not the right candidate? I mean, run a process.
Well, they did. They ran her out of town right before any votes were cast in 2019.
But the
and then
same
she's flexed
affliction
out of there.
hit her here. The same problem she had in 2020 hit her in
She's the same
2024.
person.
I mean, it's not all her fault. They put her in a race that she, well, we now know couldn't win.
Yeah.
But Carol, in fairness to Democrats, there's no doubt. I agree with you on unrealized capital gains. We shouldn't be taxing that. But we produce more wealth, more innovation, more oil, more cures, more therapeutics over the last 3 years. So I hear you. Democrats are not bad for the economy. Some things she proposed that I'm with you on. But we're a great country, and we're going to continue to be great. And I trust and hope and believe that
Your
President
party will be great again.
I want the
And you can thank Donald Trump for that.
But he inherited an economy also that was in pretty good shape. I don't want to quarrel about that. All I want is going forward. I agree with you. I want the country to be great, and I hope that both of the parties can work together to try and do that. And I salute President Trump tonight. What a great win. And I agree with you in this regard. My party's got to reimagine and reinvent itself going forward.
Listen, I wrote about this, the unity and
you did.
Past presidents and past losers and winners and what they said. This is a big speech for former President Trump. As he gets ready to deliver this in front of a crowd, he's obviously taken the slings and arrows and everything that's been said, the fascism, all of the things we talked about tonight. But this moment is actually a moment to reach out.
It's an opportunity if he chooses to do that, but it's also 1:30 in the morning. So you could kind of wonder how many people are alive to hear him.
Oh, they're there.
A lot of people are still up.
The question is how much of
Yeah.
the TV audience.
Estão todo mundo esperando
I
aqui.
think back at the moment in Iowa, at the beginning of this process, Brett, when we were in a town hall with him, bless you, Brett, and he, we asked him about all of this revenge stuff, and that he was going to want retribution, and this is what everyone heard. And there were times when he
Ao
had
vivo,
language that
pessoal, ao
was,
vivo.
that matched that, but he said that he wanted success to be his revenge, and that he wanted a successful America. And I would imagine that we're going to hear something along those lines tonight, but we'll see.
Aí no Brasil a coisa tá terrível, eu sei disso. Depois que tiraram um ladrão da cadeia, colocou na presidência, que é o quê, né? Tem jeito do país ir pra frente, não, né?
So listen, there are a lot of Thanksgiving
Coloca
tables that people are still going to have.
Ministro da Economia que só sabe taxar as pessoas, mais nada, só sabe querer sugar do povo, mais nada.
Brussels sprouts is not going to be as easy Thanksgiving Day, but this is a chance to move forward, Rick. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that one thing that can happen here, and it happened to Biden, in my view. Biden was elected. We had every reason to believe that he would be this sort of moderate deal-making guy that he'd been when he was in the Senate. Yes, he's always followed sort of the drift of his party, but he worked across the aisle with many senators, had Republican friends and so on. They thought that would probably be the kind of president he'd make. And then something happened. Trump went to Georgia and made a mess of that Senate, those two Senate races down there, and the Democrats ended up with control of the Senate, at which point old Biden started getting, these historical sugar plums dancing in his head, and went out for a very aggressive agenda.
Sure, there were articles about FDR.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be the next FDR.
He's going to out-Obama. Remember that?
Yep.
Well, in my view, that was he would have been, if the Republicans had maintained control of the Senate, first thing that wouldn't have
O
happened.
do Trump tá tudo esperando lá,
Led to the inflation.
pra ver o speech dele.
Part of the inflation. And Biden and the country would have been better off because of it. There's always a danger in overreading the mandate.
Só falta mais três delegados aqui, ó, pra dar os 270 e já
I think that
era.
happened to Biden. Early on,
Só
remember he said
falta
that he's going to be returned to norm.
mais
and then the
estado.
historians came in and said, no, you could be bigger than FDR. So
Se ele ganhar mais estado, já era.
inflation, and now they end up with this result.
Well, he had said that this looks like new President Trump, if he gets to 270, which we expect he will fairly shortly, yes, exactly, has a moment to bring about the unity that people expected after the last election. Of course, we would be kidding ourselves to think that there won't be a tremendous response to this, tremendous backlash in a lot of corners of the country.
So listen, he's going to get there because Alaska's going to be Republican, but we're not done. As far as calling states, there could be even more states that go Trump's way. This could be a massive landslide just by what we're looking at in the polls. Fox News Decision Desk count now project that Vice President Harris will win Minnesota, and her running mate Tim Walz serves as the state's governor there. That takes it up to 267 to 226. But again, Donald J. Trump will be the 47th president of the United States. More Democracy 24 special coverage next.
Uhul. Vai dar Trump na cabeça mesmo. Election.
Myasthenia gravis. Picture what life could look like with Vyvgart Hytrulo, a subcutaneous injection that takes about 30 to 90 seconds. For one thing, could it mean more time for you? Vyvgart Hytrulo can improve daily abilities and reduce muscle weakness with a treatment plan that's personalized to you. Do not use Vyvgart
Daqui a
Hytrulo if you
pouquinho
have a
sai o
serious
resultado,
allergy
pessoal.
to
O
any of its
resultado final da
ingredients. It
eleição
can
nos
cause
Estados
serious
Unidos.
allergic reactions like trouble breathing and decrease in blood pressure, leading to fainting and allergic reactions.
Já vai sair o resultado final das eleições, meu povo.
The most common side effects are respiratory and urinary tract infections, headache, and injection site reactions. It may increase the risk of infusion-related reactions and infection. Tell your doctor if you have a history of infections or symptoms of
Então,
an
rapaz,
infection.
você vê, né?
Talk to your neurologist
É
about
absurdo
Vyvgart
essas taxas que
Hytrulo
estão
for
cobrando aí no
TMJ
Brasil.
and picture your
Absurdo.
life in motion.
Esse Haddad aí é outro bandido. É bandido comandado por bandido.
The crime of title theft. What is that?
What that means is that a criminal, they're able to steal the title to your home, typically by transferring it to another person and then selling or borrowing money against the house. So it could be 6 months later, they start getting foreclosed on. The thing about home title lock is that never has to happen.
Why is that?
They notify you when there's any change to your title, and you're able to hopefully catch the thief in the middle of this whole process. And even if the title has been transferred out of your name, Home Title Lock has a restoration team that will come in, fix your title, and place the property back into your name. Title fraud is real, it's scary, but now there's a way to protect yourself.
Give us a call or go to HometitleLock.com and start your triple lock title protection today.
Sunday on Fox. Catch a special Veterans Day pregame show live from Naval Base San Diego. Then it's
Tá chegando a hora, pessoal. Tá chegando a hora.
It all kicks off at 11 a.m. Eastern on Fox. Check for the game in your area.
Hey, grab more delectables. You know, that lickable cat treat.
Delickable delectables.
Como é que tá o champanhe?
Must be delicious. Delectables, lickable
Delightful.
treat. Deliciously delectable delectables.
It is a very big night, and they are about to explode at Trump headquarters in West Palm Beach. You see thousands of people waiting, and we are about to hear from the next president of the United States. He will be 45 and 47, and we're waiting for him to join the room, and we'll take you there, obviously, as soon as that gets underway. In the meantime, Grady Trimble is in Michigan. Let's get a quick update.
Okay,
Hi, Grady.
Hey, Martha. Yeah, people were getting a little bit tired here, but then the call for Pennsylvania was like a jolt of electricity through this room at the Michigan GOP watch party, and the crowd started chanting USA. They started chanting Trump, 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 as it now appears he will be the 47th president of the United States. Now, in addition to Trump and the call for him in Pennsylvania, they're also excited about the possibility that Michigan could be the state that tips him over that magic 270 number. We're also following a very close Senate race here in Michigan, and they're feeling very confident about that as well. Republican candidate Mike Rogers looks like he could cruise to victory with the help of former President Trump. Democratic candidate Alyssa Slotkin, she went out to her crowd at her watch party at around 12:30 tonight and told them to go home and go to sleep, where here they extended this ballroom venue all through the night if they had to, and now it looks like the crowd is fired up as they await former President Trump taking the stage.
Okay, Grady, thank you. It is really important to point out how big the coattails could be tonight. Think about Bernie Moreno in Ohio, was thought dead in the water against Sherrod Brown. He wins. We have right now at this hour, as Grady mentioned, Mike Rogers in Michigan is up. Looks like he is getting closer. We haven't made a call there yet. Hovde in Wisconsin, leading right now. Sam Brown in Nevada is closing in on Jackie Rosen. We're talking about historic numbers here. If all of these dominoes fall, you're talking about a Senate that could be 54-46, 55-45. That wasn't in the cards. That wasn't on anybody's bingo card when you came into election night.
But these candidates have all fought really strong races, and they have all closed in a very strong way. And in fact, many of them were sort of pulling into +5, +6 in just over the last 3 weeks. So it's a fascinating part of the story. Hopefully, we'll be able to call some more of those soon.
Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says with these coattails, you could see the House going Republican as well. And that would be
Tá quase, pessoal, tá quase.
Let's go out, back
Já
out
vai
to
vir os
Trace
resultados
on the West Coast with his panel. Hey, Trace.
resultado final da eleição.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you as well. We've got
Para
our
mostrar
panel,
quem
Steve Hilton, Jody Armour, Katie McGee-White, and John O'Caldwell. You're talking to your panel, Brett and Martha, and we were talking to ours, and Katie McGee-White was struck by the whole concept that, again, Trump was undercounted.
This is the third consecutive polling miss in a presidential cycle for Donald Trump. And we really need to be asking ourselves, why do they keep getting it wrong? And at this point, it is a choice. Back in 2016, you could argue that you were blindsided, you didn't expect it. You cannot say that anymore. This was predictable from the very start. And I think the reason they keep getting it wrong is because they still don't understand the average Trump voter. They cannot wrap their heads around why so many people support him. And it's because for a long time, actually for the past decade or so, Democrats in power didn't think they needed to. And even worse, they didn't want to. They didn't want to have to stoop down to understand the concerns over immigration, over the economy. And guess what? The American people sent a very clear message tonight that you better start paying attention, and you better start paying attention soon.
We heard
Big
a lot of
message.
words, demographic. I don't know how many times we heard it, Steve Hilton, but Gianna, you talk about black voters, black male voters especially. We heard it again and again tonight, and you think it's worth talking about.
I think this is a historic night. Black men will now, those who voted for Trump will be counted as those who helped save America.
Ah, os jornalistas da Globo aí já deve estar chorando com gosto. Tá chorando com gosto. A CNN também deve estar chorando. Cambada de...
Talk show or whatever that was to say, oh, I'll pull out my gun and shoot someone who tries to come into my house. I mean, it's become nonsensical to the point that I don't know if we're looking at Medea runs for president or not. I mean, this is outstanding what has happened from the black male perspective, and I hope the Republican Party takes note.
Yeah, and you talk about young males and younger voters, Jody Armour. You're a law professor at the University of Southern California. You know what young people are geared into. Are you surprised to see these voter analysis numbers? The young voters came out heavy for Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, young voters can sniff out a fraud. They can sniff out somebody who's chameleon-like. She changes her position according to the prevailing winds. They didn't like that. Many across the country, young students said, for me, a red line also is mass atrocities, is collective punishment, is what I see going on in the Middle East, and I see us as complicit in. And so they, were saying, I'm not just enthusiastic. Yeah, I'm not going to get out.
I got 15 seconds for you, Steve.
I just think when I see this unfold, Trace, it is just a massive victory.
Oh, we got to jump back. Sorry, guys, back to you. We got Trump coming up.
Whoop.
Trace, thank you. The Fox News decision desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Yay! Trump é o próximo presidente, meu povo. Trump ganhou nos Estados Unidos. Done. Trump ganhou. Já era. Hã? Wisconsin.
performed in urban areas, particularly with men, proving that
Passou dos
strategy that they
270.
doubled and tripled down on over the course of the last
277,
few
já
months
era.
absolutely
Já era.
succeeded
Ao
and
homem.
back to the White House.
47th President of the United States, former
Yes.
President Trump now defeats Vice President Kamala Harris, who entered this race just over 100 days ago. And
Yes.
for Democrats, they were projecting the possibility of running the table with battleground states.
Graças a Deus, não voltou, que tava um estrago. 4 anos destruído, tá destruindo o país inteiro. Trump é o próximo presidente, meu povo, dos Estados Unidos. E dessa vez ainda vai ser melhor que a primeira vez ainda.
You know, he often accounts for the fact that he had so much turnover in his first term, in his term as president, by the fact that he really know Washington, and he was new to this realm.
Hã?
With the presidency.
E a outra também.
And he promises us that now he knows whom he wants to hire, now he knows the kind of people he wants to have around him. A lot of people are saying that means a lot of very experienced people around Washington will be ruled out, and maybe they will. But it's going to be very interesting to see the kind of people.
Acabou, meu povo, acabou. Deu Trump na cabeça. Graças a Deus. Já era. Eu queria estar gritando aqui, eu não posso, tem o pessoal dormindo, tem um cara de... Minha filha tá dormindo, então não dá para acordar o povo, não. A vontade é de gritar. Você tá doido.
Indictments, 2 assassination attempts, an unlikely come-from-behind victory, and history is made tonight. This is a huge moment, particularly because this is a tectonic shift of the Republican Party. If all of this exit polling is true, you now have Black voters, Latino voters, young voters coming in a way that we haven't seen the party bring in a very long time, and that's due to former President, now soon-to-be current President Trump. And I just want to say this as we wait for him to come out. I remember having a conversation with Trump in 2016 about his remarks.
Sonho grande de
Before he
novo.
went out to give those remarks, he had speech A and speech B. Speech A was a more
Ao vivo, meu
boisterous
povo, ao
Trumpian
vivo.
speech. Speech B was a speech full of unity, and he looked up, Ivanka said, saw the faces of crying Hillary voters. He ripped up the boisterous speech and said he wanted to heal the nation. And the first words he said were an appreciation for Hillary Clinton, for her service to our country. And then he said, now it is time for America to bind the wounds of division. And he said, we are a party of all races, creeds, and religions. That is more true tonight than it was 8 years ago. And I fully expect President Trump right now is maybe ripping up that more boisterous speech and preparing to unite the country.
It's an amazing message.
I hope Kaylee's right. I hope you're right. And we're gonna get a chance to see here in a minute. Trey Gowdy said something on your show the other day about how one of the things that you hope also is they're a little more prepared this time. They've got a great transition team, and they're going to need it. And I hope that there are a lot of people who want to go in and be helpful. Trey?
Yeah, I think his transition team has done a wonderful job vetting potential candidates. And to Kaylee's point, I think a liberated Donald Trump, he's never going to be on the ballot again. This is his last term. I think, Harold, he will surprise his detractors. I think he will be not anything like what his detractors have described him as being now that he is liberated. If I'm wrong, you can hold me to that. But I think he will, a liberated Donald Trump is going to shock his detractors.
He has said that the assassination attempts had an impact on him. We saw him in many ways return to the very rough and tumble style that we've seen in Donald Trump toward the end of this. But now he will take the stage tonight as the next president of the United States, and he will not be able to run again. Yeah. And I think that is another liberating factor potentially.
O bonezinho que fez a festa, fez história esse boné.
This is a president who was caught lightning in a bottle twice, and the second time around, he now has a MAGA mandate. He will have a Senate that he can use to push through his cabinet appointees. who can work with him on legislation, who could potentially replace a number of justices on the Supreme Court.
Could build a wall.
He could build a wall. He has a working group in Washington, D.C. We'll see what happens with the House, but he also has been working very hard on his transition, get the right people around him. He talks about the lessons he's learned about the first time in the White House. So this is a mandate tonight for him. And I think you should get a lot of credit for doing the work on the ground, going to these states to pull these Senate candidates across the line with him.
What do you think the analysis is going to be? There's going to be a lot of time to digest all of this. We're focused now on what the incoming president is going to say. What do you think the analysis is going to be on the
Donald Trump acabou de ganhar a eleição para presidente dos Estados Unidos.
I think it's going to be agonizing. I think it's going to take a little while.
Uma noite histórica
for
no nosso
consensus
país.
to form about what the party needs to do next, what it did wrong this time,
Realmente
at first.
dia histórico, dia histórico.
Imagine that if the party were smart,
Fantástico.
and shrewd political voices were heeded,
Fantástico.
that there'd be some major changes in their agenda and their approach in this. And you think of the issue sets that they tried to run on against this man that failed. They need to reconsider all of that. And I think it'll take a while. Now, our colleague and friend Mark Halperin, who's been very astute this particular cycle, he thinks there's going to be
MAGA, make America great again.
be hysterical. I hope not. But it could happen.
I am really looking forward to reading some of the stories, probably with a lot of anonymous sources amongst Democrats with the recriminations, and it's going to be fast and furious, and you will have people saying that Joe Biden should have dropped out the day after, not dropped out, but said he was not running for re-election on the day after that midterm in 2022, and either endorsed her or said, let there be a primary, and Dr. Jill Biden, there will be thoughts about her. And I wonder how chilly that White House is going to be for the next 90 days as they try to figure it out.
And let me just say that as Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris will certify the election results on January 6th.
A lot of irony in that moment. Harold, your thoughts?
This is how our country is organized, and it's a great education, I think, for people who had very high passions in this race. There are Democrats who were fervently for Joe Biden. He performed poorly during a debate, and the party switched to Kamala Harris, and there was genuine excitement, I think, built over a period of time. And some of that excitement was an aversion and almost a dislike and a disdain for Donald Trump. But I hope it's a moment that we can all grow from, because if we don't, not in a selfish, partisan way, Democrats won't progress. And I don't think you can fly and soar as a great country unless you have both wings working together. And President Trump, tonight, I'm going to be interested in that tone, Kayla. I was reminded of your words, and reminded of what you said as you shared it. I remember that story, and I hope and pray for the country tonight that President Trump, who has every right to be joyful, every right to celebrate, will give a speech with that tone tonight that in many ways could help him do all the things that he campaigned on in this campaign.
What does this mean for the never Trumpers, the Republican, and the Lincoln Project people, and Bill Kristol, and people like that who seem to abandon everything they ever previously believed in order to oppose Donald Trump?
Oh, yeah. We'll get to the never Trumpers soon enough, and the hundreds of millions of dollars wasted on them. Look, Donald Trump won this on policy and personality. I don't want to be remiss here. He is talking about energy independence, manufacturing, an economy where everybody is working, no new foreign wars, getting out of the entanglements we currently have, respecting and resourcing law enforcement, border patrol, military. And by the way, friends, we don't get those policies without that personality. What did we hear during the Republican primaries? I want Donald Trump's policies without his personality. Good luck with that. You don't get this strength and this resolve and this toughness. You don't get those policies without that. But I want to say this. It's on this phone that Huma Abedin placed the call 2:30 a.m. on November 9th, 2016. And on the other line was Secretary Clinton to concede the race to Donald Trump on my phone. I handed it to him.
And I said to Vice President-elect Mike Pence, make sure Hillary actually concedes. She did. And President Trump was gracious to them too. They came to the luncheon at the Capitol after the inauguration. The Obamas and the Clintons were there. I was there to see it myself. And then something just changed. The Washington Post said, let's impeach him at noon, 2 minutes after he's inaugurated. Melania wrote about this in her book. So, Harold, I hear you. I hope everybody can unify. But I got to tell you, my friend, I think it starts with your party and not mine.
Fair enough.
They had this guy in a courtroom. He's not an indoor cat. I get it. They had him in a courtroom. They have him impeached. They have him. And whether people think that was justified or not, now is a good time to respect the will of the people. Forget about us, the will of the people.
I agree. I'm just saying be a gracious winner and let's move the country forward. I agree. And I know you will. That was my only point.
I got a gracious winner today when I talked to him. I really did. He's known for a while. I wrote a piece on FoxNews.com October 11th saying he's going to have a narrow landslide. I think he's felt that for a while, but he wanted to go and earn it.
And I even think the people around him have to be gracious too. I think he will, but I don't know as well as you, but I think the people around him can be gracious as well.
We can always hope.
No, that comes from the top.
Once more, I just want to say how much money was spent on this election. $15.9 billion worth of bill.
Wow.
If you spend $1,000 a day for 2,740 years, that would be $1 billion. It was 16 times that. What has been spent on every race, presidency, the whole deal. $16 billion. And here we are.
What is that? A check you can write to every American? What did you say?
$50.
If not $50.
But I just want to say, every presidential race has a medium. You know, you go back to television, cable.
Yeah.
This was, in some ways, a podcast experience of a campaign. And those are free to go on podcasts. And you wonder how much of that money really needed to be spent when there's a lot of ways to reach people. But I think it's really interesting and something we'll be talking about a lot in terms of the reach of these endorsements from Rogan and Musk and the rest of them.
The final ads where
they were excellent.
They talked about making America great again, but then ending with the assassination attempt and that fist in the air, the iconic image.
Vou dormir agora porque
Absolutely. Warrior president.
It worked.
não tá demorando em fazer o.
That was the last night seeing that ad. And I think, whatever you think of the guy, you gotta admire that.
Yeah.
I mean, the adversity, he's everything we've seen in other presidents,
Trump ganhou.
figures who've gone through all kinds of trouble.
Esperando ele vir fazer o.
What he just put through. Maybe it's time for his enemies to stop it.
Tô preparando o palanque ali, já tá tudo no jeito.
The Energizer Bunny. Let's check in with Aisha. Speaking of the Energizer Bunny at Trump headquarters in West Palm. Aisha, this has been a big night all night long. I'm sure it's really getting fever pitch now.
A big night, Brett and Martha, a long campaign for the former president, for all of us, the press corps that have been following him around now for more than a year. The crowd went absolutely nuts when Fox News called it here, and people were hugging each other, they were high-fiving each other, that people were on FaceTiming. I think they were just couldn't believe it that this happened tonight and they didn't have to wait days and days and days. We are now awaiting the former president to take the podium. He is here in the building, as is his running mate, now Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. They're backstage. We were told they were going to come out as soon as the election was called, and so now we're just waiting. We asked for a 2-minute warning. I don't know if we're going to get one, but hopefully we will see him soon. And so I just want to add a little bit of perspective, just as a Capitol Hill reporter that's been covering the former president for a while. When I came to Congress 3 years ago, talked privately with many powerful Republicans who did not want to see the former president back in Washington, and then to see the legal battles that he went through and Republicans having to stand up for him. And then he went through the primary process. As Kellyanne Conway just said, he earned it state by state by state, and then came back to Washington in the spring and went to the RNC and claimed the nomination. This is the greatest comeback that I've ever witnessed personally myself. And so I look forward to seeing what he says to the country here tonight and to his supporters. Back to you.
Aisha, thank you. The Harris team is now texting to say Vice President Harris will speak tomorrow, and that will be her response to the election results. That's all we have from the Harris team, which is really strange. I mean, from a PR perspective, Dan.
No, I also just think it's a shame because I remember when John Kerry did this to George W. Bush in 2004, and you work so hard, and I know that they're disappointed, but you should concede and let your opponent have their election night, and let everybody that's there at Trump at Mar-a-Lago, where are they? They're in Palm Beach.
They're in the convention center.
At the convention center, like let them have their moment without anyone. Like I remember Andy Card had to come in and say, well, yes, we know we won, but we have to wait until John Kerry concedes, and then we all had to traipse back in the next morning and wait, and you don't get that moment. I don't think it's right. And
that's not to say there's not going to be a phone call. There could be a phone call tonight, but she's not going to speak publicly.
If there's a phone call, they have to make it public, and then nobody needs to hear from her. So if I were her, I would do it tonight.
I mean, they had that whole setup in front of Hillary.
Because all of her people were already there.
Everybody was there, and it does feel like you want to just collect
O Trump é o novo presidente dos Estados Unidos. O homem ganhou. Maior vitória da história.
90 minutes before that,
O homem é
they were
bruto.
told to go to bed.
I got that text.
90 minutes
Pessoal,
before all of this, Jen O'Malley Dillon, the Harris campaign person, said everyone can go to bed and come back tomorrow. So
she didn't even address her own supporters. We want her to call President Trump. She didn't talk to the people who were assembled there for hours for her. It just seems very ungracious. By the way, it ended up being a very bad split screen. You probably couldn't see it in here, but they're filing out, and he's expanding his votes, and they're all excited for him. Look, I think that Kamala Harris was a sign of the times, but I think that Trump's a metaphor for the country.
Pessoal, tá demorando demais para ele sair para falar aí, então vou terminar a live aí, vou agradecer a cada um de vocês que esteve aí comigo. Valeu, grande abraço a todos, fiquem com Deus, até a próxima aí. Presidente Trump é o mais novo presidente dos Estados Unidos, é Trump na cabeça dos... Já tem 277 delegados, só precisa de 270 para ganhar. E aqui provavelmente pode chegar ainda até uns 300, mas 277 já é o suficiente para ganhar. Beleza? Então falou, pessoal. Grande abraço, fiquem com Deus. Até a próxima. Trump 2024. Dano.
These celebrities, these athletes, he's got job creators and innovators. He's got Elon